Hey bosses, Venus here, the owner and founder of blankwardrobe.com, an online boutique that specializes in women's apparel. We are all about providing versatile, edgy basics to add to your current wardrobe, in addition to helping you build a functional wardrobe. So I wanted to come back as promised. It really seemed like y'all really enjoyed that first video about how to start a boutique. And I said in that video that I was going to come back and do the series. So this is the second video in that series. And let's just dive right in. This part is gonna, if you remember from the first video, and if you haven't watched that video, you really should go watch that video, because it's gonna explain a lot of what this video is about as well. So it's a continuation. So this video is going to talk about the roadmap I was talking about towards the end of the video, where I said, you know, before you start, you want to kind of map out a roadmap of sorts of like, what are you going to do pre-launch? What are you going to do launch? And then what are you going to do post-launch for your boutique? And really this can apply to any small business. So the first part of that roadmap is kind of we're still in pre-launch, but now we're getting into some of the tactical kind of things that we need to consider. So I have my handy dandy notebook, so you may see me glancing down at this just because it helps me streamline. What y'all notice about me, especially if you follow me on Instagram, is I like to chat. And so having an outline helps me kind of keep everything tight so that y'all are not listening to me for 20 and 30 minutes. So this video is the first part of the roadmap to launch. We're going to talk about some business plan things. We're going to talk about some market research, and then we're going to talk about your product, because at this time, this is kind of where you're like, okay, I did all the pre-work. I did the mindset stuff that I needed to do before I started thinking about this. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. And so I'm going to go over 5 different things that you should be doing at this point in pre-launch. So let's dive right on in. The first part is to create a business plan. And so there's a lot of people who talk about a business plan not really being important at this stage, or it shouldn't be like in depth, because business plans can be very, very, very detail oriented and very in depth. I am kind of in the middle. I don't really think that you need like a full-blown business plan at this point, but I definitely think that the elements of a business plan and you having some type of sense that that's something that you need to consider as you're kind of building your business is important. So basically looking at a general structure of a business plan and making sure that you know that you're thinking of those things. So just kind of very quickly, a business plan would include, of course, like your organization. So that's the LLC or whatever formation you decide to do at that point. You want to talk about the marketing at this point. You want to talk about finances. You want to talk about location, structure, those different things you kind of want to know. But you'll see that the way that we're doing kind of our roadmap is going to walk you through each step of that. So you're going to be kind of building a business plan as you're building a business. And so that's part of the reason why I'm kind of in the middle with a business plan. Because you are going to be doing the elements, as long as you're allowing the overall structure of a business plan to guide your thought and your thinking process, then you should be fine. Some of the things for me personally that I did was I definitely minded my finances. So I thought about how much I was going to need, what could be a potential profit margin for me, what was aspirational for me and my business. I thought about the marketing, like what was everything going to look like? How was I going to do marketing? Emails, social media, print, local ambassadors, all those different things like I thought of at that point. I also really nailed down on my goals, my mission, and my values, because I really wanted that to be at the crux of everything for Blank Wardrobe. I wanted that to be, when I'm thinking of an item to put in a store, the goals, the mission, the values, all of that is always going through my head, because I don't want anything to deviate from that. And I also thought about location. At that point, it was like, do I want to do brick and mortar? Is that the thing that I want to do in this life at this time, or is online okay? I have a 9 to 5, in case y'all didn't know. For new people who are watching, I do have a 9 to 5, and I also have this boutique, so I had to also consider that as well. So that's kind of the first thing. Create a business plan, have it loose. Don't allow your business plan to dictate or make you not be fluid to the ebbs and flow of how you structure your business. It should really just guide you at this point. The second thing that you really want to do is study the market and research the industry. The fashion industry and the retail industry is, in my opinion, one of the hardest industries to really keep up with and learn. Part of that is because it's always changing, and most industries are, but retail is just like, we had the retail apocalypse a couple of years ago. Online is playing a factor in retail. Brick and mortars are closing, and sometimes they're opening. We are also thinking about pop-up shops and all these different things and elements that go into having a retail business. So you want to make sure that you understand the industry of retail and the industry of fashion. Being an expert for boutique owners and people who are going to be doing that helps you stand out amongst people who kind of wake up one day and they're like, I want to open a boutique. I want to have a boutique. When you know the industry, for me, it made me fall in love even more with fashion, because I love that element of it. I love the business of fashion. And so make sure you're looking at that. In terms of researching the industry, you want to know that seasons actually affect your business. So spring, fall, winter, all of those, the seasons matter. So you don't want to buy a whole bunch of sweaters in the springtime. You don't want to buy a bunch of t-shirts or tank tops in the winter time. So you or release them in the winter time. So your buying is going to be affected by the seasons. The items that you hold in the store is going to be affected by the seasons. So all of these different things matter. So that's part of knowing your industry, is knowing that seasons impact fashion very much so. Society, what's trending? Even though Blank Wardrobe is not necessarily a trendy shop, and we really do kind of lean to more classics with a little edge, we do incorporate a little trend. So knowing the trends is very helpful. Plus, it's just part of knowing the rules, like knowing what people are gravitating to and knowing your market. What is hot right now? Those are things that you want to know. The other thing is technology. So especially if you're online, what's new? What apps can help you run your store? What website are you hosting your store on? You want to know kind of the technology, because that's going to impact your business. It's going to impact your sales. It's going to impact your customers. And so you want to know that in detail so that you're making educated decisions on what platforms you're hosting on, what apps you're adding to your store to keep it functioning. Those things are important, along with social media. For example, what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Twitter, LinkedIn, all these different things you want to have. You don't necessarily have to be an expert, but you want to have a very grounding knowledge of them. When we talk about knowing the market, you want to know your target market. So if you're like, for me, my target market are women who are business women, or they're entrepreneurs. Overall, they're entrepreneurial in thinking. So I kind of know where those people are, where they exist, where are they on social media, what types of things do they like in terms of their clothes, what do they need when they're thinking about fashion and style choices. So I'm thinking of that as I'm buying, and I'm thinking of that as I'm kind of planning out my business. The other thing that you want to make sure you have abreast on, and we kind of talked about this in the first video, was your competition. So you don't want to look to your competition to deter you from your goals, but you definitely want to know what they're doing. Not because you want to take or steal ideas, But it's good to know what your competitors are up to, because you can get certain pointers from them. You can kind of see where the market is shifting, if you miss something in your research, or just to really have a general idea of what's going on in your current market or industry. And so we don't want that to distract you from your overall goals, but we definitely want to know who those competitors are and have a general idea of what they're doing. The other thing is your potential product. So where is that product being made? Is it international? Right now, the coronavirus is really impacting a lot of businesses. And so knowing where your clothes are primarily made, for example, for me, some of it is international. And so knowing that and knowing how that can affect shipping times, availability, those are things that you want to keep in mind. And the only way you're going to really keep that in mind is knowing where your stuff is coming from. And so even thinking about the coronavirus, and most of my vendors are in LA, how is that impacting them? And then subsequently, how is that going to impact me? So, you know, as you can see, it's a lot that goes into this if you do it right. And so that's number 2. Study the market, research your industry, and those elements as well. The third thing, which to me is the fun part because I'm a marketer, so refining your name. So figure out what the name of your boutique is. If you know or have an idea of what you want the name of your boutique to be, then start researching that. Do other boutiques have it? Are other retailers using it? Is another company that doesn't have anything to do with your brand using it? How are they using it if they are? Because when you go to trademark, you don't want to run into issues where you've built a brand and now you have to kind of pivot because that name is not available. So you want to do a thorough research on the name of your company and know what's out there. That's going to also affect you when you think about your website and your domain, which is www. for example, blankwardrobe.com. That's your domain online. You want to start thinking about your logo. For me, I created Blank's logo. Like I said, I have some marketing or marketing background. I do branding. And so for me, I knew, like, I literally visualized what the logo was going to be, and I just created it. I wrote it down, I drew it, and then I created it using Photoshop. And so, yeah, you want to think about your logo. You want to start thinking about your colors, your mission, your values. Again, solidify that around your logo and your color. This is a good time also to think about your customer. Remember in the last video, we were talking about knowing your customer, coming up with a persona. Well, this is the time to start to create that persona story, because their story is going to relate and feed into your story. They're going to feed into your mission and values. So you want to make sure that the person that you're thinking that's going to buy your products or buy into your brand, that they're really buying into your story. Remember, people don't buy products, they buy stories, they buy people, if that makes sense. So if people like you, then they're more apt to trust you. And when they trust you, then they're more likely to buy from you. And if they buy from you and they like what you offer, and you confirm that they like you, that they trust you, and you give them a bomb experience and product, then they're going to recommend you to other people, and then they're going to return themselves. And so now you have this lifelong customer who's also willing to brag about you. That pays dividends, y'all. And so that's why it's important to think about the story, because you want to sell your story. A product is a product is a product is a product. The story is the unique piece. The fourth thing that you want to determine or look at is your product. This was super fun for me when I was doing my boutique. But it got a little bit overwhelming, because a lot of times when people own boutiques, they think, oh, well, it's just shopping. Like, I'm shopping for myself. I don't think that you should shop for yourself. Like, your taste is obviously going to be in what you pick, but you're buying for that persona. You're buying for that ideal customer. So you have her story in your mind. Like for me, mine is a women's apparel boutique. So I'm thinking about the woman. I'm thinking about what she does on a daily basis. I'm thinking about what she would like, what she would need. So some of the items that I have in my boutique, I would not necessarily wear, but I know that my customer will. The person that I'm targeting will. So that's, to me, the best way to shop. And because you're thinking of that way and you have to put yourself in that person's shoes, It's fun, but it's very strategic. So and also when you're thinking about your product, you want to start thinking about costs. You want to start thinking about the amount of product you're going to have. You want to make sure that product, like I said before, is relating to your brand story, to that persona. And then where will you get it? Where are you going to shop? Are you going to shop online, or are you going to go to the LA Fashion District, or are you going to go to a market show? So you want to start thinking of these things, because that's going to impact how much money you're going to spend if you have to have it shipped. If you're actually going to these locations like the LA Fashion District, then, and you don't live in LA, then that's a flight, that's a hotel, in addition to the clothes. In addition to you probably having to ship those clothes home. So you need to start thinking of that so that you can start. Remember, I told you, you want to start having a loose idea about your finances. This is going to get you closer to knowing more or less like how much you need to start your boutique. Because as a segue, I know a lot of times I've watched videos and people are like, how much do you need? How much do you need to start your boutique? And people kind of throw out these numbers. And for me, I would not necessarily tell you a specific number, because it depends on all of those different things. What I would tell you instead is to do the work. So instead of asking somebody how much money you're going to need to start your boutique, do this work, where the product work, you know, the marketing work. And then it'll get you closer to, okay, I'm gonna probably need this because this is how I want to do it. That's what I did. So I didn't necessarily go to another person and ask them how much I needed. I did this work first, and it got me a number, and then I just executed based off that number. So the final thing that you want to do at this point, as you're launching your boutique, is to determine the location of your store. And I've been talking about that throughout this video, but it's important. For me, I decided I wanted to start off online because it's cheaper in terms of overhead. When you're thinking about a brick and mortar, that's a whole different element that you have to consider. I also, see, I did my research. I did my market research, and I also researched the industry. And I noticed that one of my favorite retailers, Ralph Lauren, at the time had closed his big flagship store in New York. Okay. And at that point, it got me thinking, okay, if Ralph Lauren is doing this, there's something to this. And so I started doing some research, and at the time of my launch, and still currently, I feel like online is the best place to be. It's a little bit more difficult because you don't have foot traffic. So you don't have a lot of word of mouth. But if you have the right marketing and you do the legwork online, you can still mimic it. It's just a little bit more work. But for me, in this current time, with me having a 9-to-5 as well, it made sense for me to start online. So you're gonna have to ask yourself some questions, map out your finances and your risk of kind of doing either or. And so this is the point where you want to say, hey, where do I want this to be? Or you might decide you want to come out the gate and do both. At the end of the day, you really just need to get serious about it and figure out where your store is going to be. So that's kind of the 5 things in the pre-part or pre-launch of your boutique on this roadmap that I was telling you guys about. So we're very close to getting to the kind of, I don't want to say fun part, but now we're ready at this point after this video to go into how do I become a business. When you Google me, how do I get that certificate so that you know I'm legit? So we're very close. That's going to probably be the next video. So let's do a quick recap. So the 5 things that you're going to do in the pre-launch on the roadmap to launching your boutique. We want to create a business plan. We want to study the market and research the industry. We want to refine our name, logo, colors, mission, values, location, and determine who our customer is and their story. We want to determine our product, not only just in general, but the cost, the amount, where are we going to get the product? And finally, for the 5th one, we want to really get solid on the location of our store. So I hope you found this video to be helpful. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you know when a new video drops. we are working on the timing in terms of when we're gonna launch or release our video, so do excuse us as we kind of work that out. We just want to know what's best for you guys, like what days and what time, so we're still working it out because we're new. So definitely make sure you hit that notification bell so you know that this the videos are dropping. Also, before I go, I am wearing some Blank Wardrobe merch. We just launched it. We're gonna be releasing bags, maybe some hats, some more tank tops, some crop tops, tank bottoms. Like, we're gonna have a whole merch like section on Blank. So our merch is gonna be about bosses, because you guys are bosses. So this one is all about the definition of a boss. So it has the boss and then it has the definition underneath it. So will be available at blankwardrobe.com for you to purchase. These shirts are unisex, so men, or if you're watching this video, get you one. And women, if you know, look at your man or your friend as a boss, get him one. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye.